Hello, welcome to episode 4 of this mission to take Bristol Rovers up the Football League using only locally born players. It's starting to get a lot harder. You'll see the league table here. 7 points from the first 6 games. We're comfortably mid-table. Already out of the League Cup after a defeat to Stevenage, but we have won our first game in the Football League trophy. It's starting to get really quite tough. And that's because the players that are available to us to bring in are just either not good enough, they're not at the level to play in League One, or they are far above the level and aren't interested. The most telling is if I go to all the players that are in range, sort them by people who are interested in transfers. We've got one goalkeeper in Matt Macy. We've got one player that did play for us and we let go of because he wasn't good enough in Jordan Young, and nobody else is anywhere near the calibre to have any impact on our team at all. I did suggest that we look at Kyle Scott in the last video. He's now playing for Spokane, the lower leagues of the United States. So again, we're just not finding anyone that's going to improve us. All of these players that have got higher ability, anyone from Max Lane upwards, are just not interested. I've tried loaning players, I've tried putting in offers for players. We've just not got anyone that's even remotely interested in stepping down to our level. In terms of the team then, if I show you how it currently looks, we have just played a game, hence the slightly lower fitness, but there's not much we can do. This is as strong as we can get. Dewsbury now really is starting to fight his cause to take Wilson's place. I usually use Wilson as a poacher. We've got Gedekali, and Shaw, who are competing for that spot as the third midfielder with Towler and Kane. Wade rotates quite nicely with the two wingers. We've moved Benaraus out wide. We did start the season with a 4-2-3-1, and it was a total disaster, so I changed back to the 4-3-3, where we've had slightly more success, but really not that deep a squad. And in terms of players in more defensive positions, we are starting to struggle. It's been a bit of a battle in terms of keeping players happy as well. If I show you the happiness of some of the players, we've got Benaraus was desperate to leave. I was getting bids of about 500k, and given that we literally cannot replace anyone because there is no one of the same level, I just had to keep rejecting them. There's been a few other players as well that are really keen to leave, and we've just had to put our foot down and say no. If you look at the promises, look, you've got a lot of players asking to leave here. Kilgore's captain thinks there's a lack of quality at right back, but there just are no right backs that we can bring in that meet our criteria. So it has been a really, really tough start. We won the first game, a crazy game against Blackburn. If you look at the scores, we were 3-1 down with 10 minutes left. Dewsbury pulled one back, and then Jones, Dewsbury again, and Wilson gave us a 5-3 victory. And if it wasn't for that, we'd be in big trouble now. But we got a point against Luton at the end of August, and then wins against the Chelsea under 21s in the trophy, and then Blackpool in our last game. Even though they were down to 10, which had a massive impact. Atkinson was sent off after he scored. But that has just kind of made the start of the season respectable, and hopefully it allows us to start to build a little bit of form. You'll notice here that the 4-2-3-1 just didn't work, so changed to the 4-3-3, and I've seen some quite significant improvements since. Finances are much better. We're working under our wage, or slightly above our wage budget now, but not dramatically. So that's where we are. It's going to be a real struggle. I think we're going to have to wait for a couple of things to happen. The young players that have come in, the academy lads, are just going to need to keep improving to improve our team. And if I show you the squad as it is, we have got a few players of quite high potential that could really improve us as things move on, but a lot of them are just not ready yet. If you look down here at the players on the bench, I've just brought Adam Gold and Holiday up to compete for that right back position. With Larvin, again, you can see why Kilgore wasn't happy with the depth that we have at right back. But there's very little we can do. The other thing that hopefully will happen is when we look at the players that are capable of playing for us, some of these guys get older. I'm looking at Kelly, Bell. We did try Butland, but he wasn't interested. Collins, tried Bobby Reed in the summer, wasn't interested. Walcott we had to let go. Not really interested in goalkeepers. So again, there's a few guys that are in their late 20s, early 30s, so maybe in a year or so's time they might become interested. Something that I have been doing a lot of is looking at who on this list has a contract expiring. Butland's been given a 1-year contract by Villa. We did try him. Again, that shows you the kind of level of player we're looking at there. But there's just no one. Absolutely no one. Lockyer, again, was someone that we looked at and he just wasn't interested. We will do some more scouting. He's gone to Blackburn, who interestingly are in our division. But originally, when he was at Luton, they were asking for bids in the millions. So we competed with Blackburn but didn't get him. Who knows, maybe if Blackburn go up and we stay in the same league. So, 2nd of February, we are on the cusp of a bit of a crisis. We are about where I expected in the league, 18th, 4 points clear of relegation. It is quite tight in that we're only 5 points off being in the top half, or 13th, so just below the top half. If I show you our schedule, we are incredibly streaky. We had an awful run from basically the end of the last update until November, where we won 4, or we had 5 games on the bounce unbeaten. Then we kept losing. Then we went on a 4-game winning streak, and now we've just lost to bottom of the table Wycombe. If we survive relegation, I think that'll be a real achievement, because the slightly bigger issue is if I show you what is currently our strongest team, we're not going to be able to keep hold of many of them long term. So Alfie Jones wants to explore his options at the end of his contract, so it's likely we're going to lose him. Nurse, the same. Towler has already agreed to go at the end of the season. Benarous wants to explore options at the end of his contract. Turnbull is retiring, so we're going to lose 4 or 5 senior players at the end of this season. So it's going to be really important that the young players that we have come through and start to make real regular appearances. The bright spark really in terms of a young player isn't actually someone who is in the first 11. We are getting a lot of bids for Yao Owuya. It's not got a huge amount of potential, but a lot of teams are coming in with bids of about 150 to 200k. So I'm thinking he's someone that we're just going to have to try and hold on to. Left back is somewhere we actually have a few options, so maybe we cash in. But when there's no one that we can bring in to replace him, it almost doesn't feel worth it. And I think that's the big problem that we have, is that, again, if I show you players who are in range, I've had bids accepted for Lockyer, but he doesn't want to come. We've got to the stage now where Bobby Decordova-Reid doesn't really even improve us. Butland is totally uninterested. In fact, this is a good demonstration of who actually is willing to come. If I just put this back to any, there is no one. In fact, Kyle Scott is someone that we probably are going to have to seriously consider over the summer, just to give us an extra numbers. But there's no one else. I keep scouting anyone that looks like they might have any potential. We'll get everyone here scouted again as well. But I think we might be slowly realising that this is an impossible challenge. There just isn't the kind of level of player that we need, and the players that are at this level all want to leave. So I'll update again at the end of the season, where hopefully we've stayed up, and we'll have quite a significant rebuild to do either way. Hello, so I'm jumping back in because we've just beaten Liverpool in the FA Cup 4th round. I didn't record the game or anything because I just didn't think there was any realistic chance that we would get near them. But we took them to extra time and then Kofi scored in the 3rd minute of both normal time and extra time. They scored an equaliser in the 121st minute, and then we won 3-2 on a penalty shootout. Crazy. We are really struggling in the league, and yet we've just beaten Liverpool. In my head, when we went to when we kind of started that game and started okay, my thinking was, if we can get a replay, that would be brilliant. But we did more than that. We actually beat them, and it's a good Liverpool team. When you think about who they've got there, Gay has come in. So this was the first goal, the Kofi opener, bit of a scramble from a corner, put us 1-0 up. I kind of started to move more defensively at this point, and they pretty much within 10 minutes had equalised. Profundi crossed to Thuram to make it 1 each. Up the match speed just a little bit. Then they went 2-1 up. So at this point I was thinking, well, again, let's just see if we can get an equaliser. If we can take it to a replay, that would be great. Nioni set up by Profundi. We then equalised straight after. And Meiji taking the ball wide, another decent delivery, and a brilliant header by Dewsbury, who is going to have to become our main starting number 9 moving forwards. Then start of extra time, this was the Shaw goal. Brian gives it away, and a screamer from Kofi, which then took us to the 120th minute, just when I thought maybe we might win this game. Ayman beats Larvin to a header to take it to penalties, and then this was the shootout. So I think that's Brian Hill scored for them. Donovan Wilson missed. I mean, that is unlucky, but missed for us. Profundi saved by Jed Ward. Gedikali scored. Then for them, Pinyaev saved by Ward again. That looked like a really good save. Ollie Dewsbury for us also saved exactly the same. Went to the left, Konashi saved to his right. Jan Quoto for them saved again by Jed Ward, which meant Cerula could score. And then it was the deciding penalty for Kofi to win it. So Kofi 2 goals and the deciding penalty. Ward and Dewsbury were the heroes, and unbelievably we've beaten Liverpool. So a bit of money, although we've got a really difficult situation in terms of our league position, where we are 20th. And again, it's just going to be about trying to avoid relegation, and then having to try and rebuild over this summer, no matter what happens. So we reached the end of the season, and we survived. 3 points above the relegation zone, but a fair few teams in there, which meant it wasn't really that precarious, I should say, with a few games to go. FA Cup run was obviously brilliant until we lost to Bournemouth in the quarter-final, and both the Carabao Cup and the trophy were pretty disappointing. As for what that leaves us with, if I skip through, I will show you how it looks in terms of our squad. And we have Jones, Nurse, Towler and Benaraus all refusing to sign a new contract and all moving on at the end of this season. I'm still working on Wilson and McEwen and hopefully get them signed up to keep them before next season, but it's not looking good. And if I quickly show you the team, that leaves us with very few senior players moving into the next season. We'll have to try and recruit. There's nothing else we can do, although there are very few options available. So that is it for today's episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll update you again with what we are able to put together ready for the start of Season 5.